purchased it from Henley Town Council.
Did they try to build it? Was this a different one when they tried to build before and they tried to push the boundary and when we had to get them to move the boundary?
Yeah, they put some fencing in and we're like, oh, hang on, what are you doing? Yeah.
And nothing's happened since then, so yeah.
Yeah, but the ecology officer and the footpath officer are still unchanged yet.
Yeah. So the proposal for refusal, seconded by Councillor Plant. All in favour? Agenda item number 6, plans new. We start off with P25S0426 full for flat 4 at the Hamlet 29 Vicarage Road.
Yes, so this is a two single-storey infill extensions. You can see on the plot plan it's at basement level. Given that it's at the basement level, there's very limited use of it within the conservation area. It's subservient to the existing property.
Sorry, could you say that again? I couldn't hear what you said.
Yeah, just said that it's given that it's a basement level, there's very limited view of it within the conservation area, and it's subservient to the existing property.
Okay. Anybody care to comment?
Just subject to the conservation. Should I declare an interest because I was born in that building?
Lovely.
I think the interest is passed. In the basement. Councillor Thomas.
I mean, if I may, I'm just slightly. The heritage officer has not been consulted. I can see again that the heritage officer is not mentioned on here at all, and it's a conservation area, so they have to be consulted. So if we can clarify that position. I mean, in terms of, I know this isn't a planning matter, but is it all this part that they're doing the basement, and do they own every part of it? Because you see there's the walkway and they're building underneath this walkway, and the walkway services the whole building, but ownership isn't part of planning, is it?
If they've done the applications wrong and people come forward to say that they don't own it, then it wouldn't be valid and the decision shouldn't be made.
I mean, I agree with our planning officer that this is not visible to the conservation area, but one would hope that the planning authority will carefully make sure that all of the relevant conditions are put in place to protect all of the other homeowners in the building, because it's very, very disruptive work that they're proposing to undertake. Yeah.
I think you're an owner, aren't you? Yes, yeah.
Unfortunately, the public participation bit is over.
Excellent.
Great. Did you have a proposal?
I propose approval subject to all of the pieces that I mentioned, but I'm sure that, you know, the ownership side isn't a material planning consideration. So, but no. So yeah, ownership ? Not visible to the conservation, but the heritage officer must be involved. And conditions, you know, must be carefully put in place for the other homeowners, for the protection of the owners and the homeowners.
Councillor Plant, seconded. You've got to speak. All in favour? Thank you very much. It's good. P25S0589 LB.
The heritage officer are happy with these. They've got some conditions they would like to make on the decision.
Okay. Councillor Hunt.
Propose approval along with the heritage officer's comments.
Sure.
Councillor Plant. Somebody else got to speak to it. All in favour? P25S0627 Household Row, Wisteria Cottage.
I didn't have a comment on this.
Okay. Councillor Plant.
Approval. It's a large property. It's got a large driveway, plenty of parking space.
Okay. And it's an existing conservatory. So proposal for acceptance. Seconded. Councillor Dodds. All in favour? P25S0690 Household Row, 7 Valley Road.
So this is a proposed single-storey side extension. It is proposing quite a large flat roof extension, but it's not in the conservation area. Both neighbours have raised concerns over impact on trees and the potential impact on proposed outbuilding.
Yes, they're from Chiltern Close, aren't they? That's on
Yeah.
to there. Yes, is that a concern? 'Cause they're both written in, haven't
They've both written in about the trees, yeah.
they? Yes, and things might be a bit noisier for them and so on, and their solar panels and worried about the trees and whatever. But you don't, that isn't
I
a
don't
material,
have
see
any-
it's a substantial
No,
objection,
it's
isn't it?
exception,
Councillor Hunt?
Proposed refusal due to the, I think it's overdevelopment, the impact on the trees is significant, potential for light pollution is fairly high.
Yeah, I think I'll second that, yeah.
Fantastic. And we ask her to speak to it.
Well, pretty 50-50.
I quite like it, actually.
I don't know the flat roof, it's too large for the plot, but I don't think it'll have any light impact due to it only being a single story.
I mean, the neighbours are very concerned that it's very, very near the boundary and are concerned about their, I don't think it'd be overlooked, but
The two that
they're
are
worried
grey
about.
are the ones down the bottom.
Yeah.
They're not neighbours, they're not.
No, I know,
joining.
they're at the bottom of the garden, yeah, but they're still concerned for their own amenity.
Proposal for refusal has been seconded. All in favour? All against?
There you go. I propose we accept.
I think I'm going to stick with my original one. I think in terms of this, it is a large extension. I think the changes that will be coming down there, I think we've got to be clear that when you've got something like this, it's about where's the harm. To my mind anyway, where's the harm? Is there harm to the area? Is there harm to neighbours? Is there harm to surrounding? I don't see any significant.
Well, two of the neighbours think it's the
Oh,
studio
no,
is going
but
to be of
it's- yeah.
harm.
They believe it's going to be of harm.
Mm.
We are not the final arbiter of it. We'll go to planning commission, but that's my grounds for.
Yeah, but we know what our planning authority is like,
Yeah.
don't we?
Yeah.
We all know.
And we also know that
They always roll over.
They have a tendency to do so.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm proposing
I proposed
You-
acceptance.
yeah, so we'll draw. You propose acceptance.
Mhm. Seconded?
Councillor Plant a second. Now, would you like to speak to it?
If you look at that road, they've all gone up to the boundary side to side, so I don't think it's, I personally quite like the people who are objecting down the bottom. So I think it's probably
So in
okay.
terms of the position we had before, we had a proposal for refusal, we're going to draw at the minute. Is there anything we can say to convince either of these
No.
councillors to discuss it?
Can we do something to limit the impact on the trees?
Would you consider that?
Like what? Down the bottom of somebody's garden? You can't, I mean, I
But
don't know.
why
the
don't they
nature of the
move it
trees.
so that it doesn't impact the tree root area?
Oh, but it's right down
At the bottom of the garden, they've got
Is
it,
there-
they've got it at an angle.
Yeah.
And it's one is covering the, I mean, obviously, I think the
It's
tree is
supposed to be
dead,
gap
but
there.
they,
Can I, sorry, councillor Plant, go ahead.
No, I was going to go first. I was going to say, we can just ask them to give consideration to whatever plants need to be removed to the extension, whether they can replace in a like for like or a similar manner. But otherwise, I don't believe that undue harm is going to be done by the extension.
Do we have the capacity to ask them to do an agricultural survey to see whether there's a damage to the trees, or is it?
It's not likely, no.
Okay.
It's not a conservation.
So
It's-
Proposal,
I mean, Deanfield and Valley Road is right, with the extensions far larger than that. This is nothing else that carries that with the area that they're developing.
I think the bit that I'm most concerned about is the studio at the back. It sits very, very high because of its position. So it will be very, very visible from those people who are trying to enjoy their garden, and they are worried about. Didn't they say that you could say perhaps that it's got to be ancillary to the main dwelling, because I think they mentioned that perhaps it could be turned into some kind of Airbnb or something,
You have to consider what they can do under permitted development as well.
Mm.
They can they can build quite
That's true, they
large
can, yeah.
outbuildings
Yeah.
without permission.
Mm.
Okay. So, councillor Dodds, you propose to
Except,
accept, and councillor Plant put
Yep.
forward potential mitigations. All in favour of acceptance?
there you split.
All in favour, all not in favour? Okay,
Decision,
it's my
decision.
decision, I propose we accept. Subject to the conditions that we discussed before. Okay, at P25 S0709, section 73, Friar Park.
No comment in this way.
Councillor Plant,
No approval.
seconded. Mr. Dodds, all in favour? Thank you. P25 S0743, householder, 29 Lambridge Road.
Again, no comment on this.
Councillor Plant,
It's in keeping with the area, the dormers are on the rear of the property, they don't cause an impact to anyone else, so I see no reason to approve.
okay.
It's a vast plot again.
Curtis, seconded. Councillor Hunt, seconded. All in favour? P25 S0776, householder, 25 Gainsborough Crescent.
So yeah, this is proposing a rear extension and the porch. It's not within the conservation area. There are concerns from neighbouring properties about the impact on their amenity. The two-storey element is quite modest, and it does meet the 45-degree rule in terms of what can be seen on the plan. The flat roof proposed would conflict with the design as set out in the SODC design guide. Again, we need to consider what could be done under permitted development.
Yeah, well, again, I think I would prefer to see a pitch roof on that first floor. I know why they're doing it. It's probably cheaper to do that flat roof, but in time they would regret that decision, I think, because flat roofs are a nightmare.
20 years.
Is that how long it will last?
That's what you get in a flat roof.
And I mean, I don't think the neighbour needs to be concerned about the flue, but it has to really, really reach, legally, it has to reach very, very high, you know, to ensure that neither of the neighbours are affected. But I think these sort of wood burners are going out of fashion now because people know that they do have an impact on the environment. So I think they're going to be becoming unpopular with householders, actually, quite frankly. So I would be advising people not to put these in because for that reason. Anyway, but that's up to them. Yeah, so I mean, on balance, I think if they put a pitch on that roof to match the pitch of the neighbouring, you know, terrace, I think it would be 100%.
So
Be good.
We have refused in the past.
Have
when
we?
wanted them to try and align to next door.
Yeah, because the neighbours have a pitch on their roof, and I think, you know, when it's a terraced house, I think it's much better to be in keeping. It's a bit brutal looking, you know. I appreciate it's at the back, but if they want trying to add value to their home,
It's also quite a lot of way of development, I think it's
But
very large.
that is not a material planning consideration, you know, that we're mentioning there, but
So we propose them.
the design guide is though. I personally think that's not good design.
You proposing refusal?
Yeah, I am. Unfortunately, because I think other than that, I think it's fine.
The neighbours, number 27, they were concerned about the light, weren't they? And actually, I would be concerned about the wood burner.
Yeah.
Because you do, I mean, I've lived with this situation, you get the bits but I'd be concerned if I was a neighbour. Wood burner next door, but it's not
Regulations,
not a material consideration.
Councillor Hunt,
Secondly,
second. All in favour of refusal on the grounds of pitch roof, the flat roof not matching the pitch roof and not meeting the design guide?
Yep.
Against? P25 S0778, householder 17 Deanfield Avenue.
No comment on this.
Councillor Hunt.
Proposed acceptance.
Second by Councillor Plant. Record to speak. All in favour? Thank you. P25 S0780, A, advertising.
And take the two together.
Sorry, yes.
It's looking very nice this year, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Can I just say that I really hate the black?
It's dark blue.
No, it's going to be black.
It's going to be black.
Yeah, really black.
German kitchens.
I mean, they're painting everything black apart from the windows. Even the letterbox is going to be black. Do they have to be so severe? It's going to stick out like.
Yeah.
We can object to the grant of taste for other one.
Okay. Councillor.
It's going to look awful on that street.
Just that the heritage officer has no concern over it. And he considered it in terms
Perhaps-
of the design.
Perhaps the heritage officer is colourblind.
We did have
It's already
1A,
navy, but.
we did have 1A Kings Road grey
Yes.
and a conservation zone, and they painted it grey, and there's no issues.
I think it's
Grey's
does look
kind of
good,
like the new black though, isn't it? Nobody uses, everything's either this kind of like ocean blue colour, you know what I mean, this deep blue colour, or it's a variation of grey, but not black.
This is going to be a very trendy shop with German kitchens. I've just had a German kitchen installed and they are superb. They're going to be very expensive and very beautiful.
People turning interest.
It's not actually, it was a different company, but it will be very stylish. I'm sure of that.
Okay, do we have a proposal? Councillor Plant,
approval.
approval, and we got a second.
Mhm.
Councillor Dodds, let's go to speak to it. All in favour of the proposal? All against? Okay. We have got that in terms of the heritage officer.
Yeah.
That's it.
That were against.
Under the cover of darkness, I'm going to go and roll and paint a different colour on it.
Should we use the paint that we put in a little bit? P25S0846, householder 84 Grace Hill.
No comment on the actual side extension. However, the gap left at the front of the house falls slightly short of what's required for a parking space. As shown in the plans. Can't really see on
Yeah, it's just that space, just
the-
there.
And it is one of the worst parking
It's
spaces.
right opposite a
Awful,
school. Right opposite a school. I was a bit dismayed that it's got another front door. Are they trying to get another dwelling, kind of like a granny annex
Airbnb.
kind of thing going on here? Why does it need another front door when they've got a perfectly good front door? That makes me
They
suspicious.
can do that without permission, but yeah, I don't know.
So I would say a refusal. My proposal is that it's a refusal because they can't demonstrate that they have off-road parking in a very, very busy area opposite a school. So we look forward to it coming back to demonstrate that they can get a car on it. And it would have to be ancillary to the main dwelling, as in part of the dwelling, not a separate dwelling, even though it's got an unnecessary another front door.
Sounds good. Okay. All in favor, anybody else going to speak to this? All in favour of that, reject that refusal?
Did we have a second?
We did, Councillor Hunt. Okay, agenda number 7, objections, do we want to call any of those in? I think so. Agenda number 8, decision notices, they're all there. Nothing really has, 37A Hart Street. Okay, agenda item number 9, certificate of lawful development for Wisteria Cottage, other change of use, short-term Airbnb.
Can I just say something on that one? Do you mind, so this has already gone through, I understand. I mean, we have had, well, our planning officer has had a conversation with the planning authority about the number of Airbnbs and short-term lets we're seeing in Henley, which is pushing potentially people who would perhaps otherwise be living in Henley. Now, a hollowed out community is certainly not something that we want to encourage in Henley, and it's started to happen, and it's starting to go in the wrong direction as far as I'm concerned. The planning authority at the moment are saying, there's nothing to see here, where's the evidence? And we've gone back to them and we've said, you produce the evidence, there's nothing to see, and they're silent. Now, we need to go back to them and ask them, chase them up on where that evidence is. But people beware, because there is a private members' bill going through the House of Parliament, being put into policy at the moment, looking at all of the people all of the homeowners, the developers, whatever you want to call them, that are turning, perfectly good rented homes into short-term lets. And it's making councils bankrupt, because people are being pushed out of rented accommodation. They're going to councils and saying, we're homeless, we need to be homed. And councils are spending millions and millions of pounds on trying to rehome everybody. So, time will tell, but this kind of legislation can't come soon enough. They're addressing second homes. From this month, second homeowners can be charged, up to 100%, I believe, or more in some cases, council tax, which hopefully can redress some of that balance. But, looking at our pupil census here in Henley, it's been going the wrong way for a long time here. We do not want a hollowed out community. I don't know why Oxfordshire, apart from Oxford City, are not yet considering taxing second homeowners.
I think there's another bit to it from Henley's perspective, in that the price of houses is what's putting people off from buying and renting right here. They can't.
So we've got double trouble in Henley, yeah.
I will say that this is probably the first or second one that I've seen that is a change of use. 'Cause
Yeah.
everybody else just seems to go through and just let them go.
Well-
This has actually been classed as change of use, which is
Is it in a conservation area?
very well.
Yes,
Um,
that one is.
Because you see, I didn't think they could do that in a conservation area.
local development.
Can they do that in a conservation area?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
very concerning.
Right. I will jump very quickly to agenda number 10 for strategic plan. Comments on strategic plan.
Yes, so as from full council back in March, the strategic plan has come to planning committee for consideration on the various objectives that were associated with planning committee, and also some that were climate and emergency group objectives, but they were reporting to planning committee already for progress updates. And all the recommendations are as in section 3.
Councillor Hunt.
I'd like to propose a recommendation as per 5.1, and also say how good it is to see that out of 10 projects, 7 are already done. It's a testament to the hard work of the officers, and I'd just like to pass the committee's thanks, or propose a second motion if I can, to the committee's thanks to the officers.
Second.
So proposal, so we're going to note this, accept this.
Yeah.
Proposed, seconded. All in favour? And you want to raise an additional?
If I may,
I'm quite happy to
the
support that.
proposing the thanks to the officers who worked very hard to get us 7 out of 10 in the first year.
All in favour? I will second that, will yeah. Well done. Agenda item number 11, consider response to the planning appeal.
Just whether we want to respond to the planning appeal at 5G Makings on recreation ground. We recommended refusal last time due to the lack of looking at alternative sites and it being on designated local green space. SODC then refused the permission, and they noted the local green space, but they did add some more reasons for refusal, including visual impact and the impact on the character and appearance of the site. So it's just whether we wanted to add more to our response for the opinion.
Councillor Hunt, I think first.
So I say there are other locations in Henley where you can build a mast. There aren't other locations where you can build a recreation ground. So I'd be inclined to recreation ground, encourage them to spend a little bit more and put the mast in a better place.
Councillor Hunt, Councillor Brown.
I was going to say certainly add the recommendations that the CDC had in there, then just, I guess, just reiterate the fact they still haven't shown evidence as to why they cannot use any of the other alternative sites. Until they do so, it's a non-starter.
Just some point of information really, on my agenda, RNA, we are considering making it a town green.
Yeah.
And the advice of the town club is might not strengthen this, but I think it is the biggest strength of protection. Certainly why we did it at Gillersfield from development. So that's just an added bit of information really.
That's one of this one.
Thank you. And finally, agenda item 12, progress water applications called in.
No updates. No.
It's all finished. Thank you very much. Cheers.
We're staying for RNA.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Are we for
I think we are. We've got Dave, Glenn, yeah.
it?
Ian is here, so he's going to, and me. So we've got 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Was there Sarah we've got as well? So we're 5.
Okay. Brilliant.
Yes,
Thank you. Invite us to the own.
Never goes anywhere. It stays.
that's